Are you ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 194. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to Google Music, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, 194, we got 6 more of these until 200. How are you feeling tonight?
You know, I'm feeling pretty good tonight. I was going to say I'm feeling great, but, you know, the world is in disarray, and today's one of those days where I'm having a rough time, and I'm glad to be here to take my mind off of the insanity that is living as a human being in 2020.
Me too, man.
Oh, man. So, yeah. I don't know. How you feeling tonight?
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've been worked up since like 5 o'clock this evening, and that was like 3 hours ago. So yeah, it's like I need this tonight. I need to have some laughs. I need to have some good times because I'm worked up, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. What is going on in the Shaw household? How are the kids?
Yeah, man.
First of all,
the kids are good. Lando's teething, which sounds horrible to anybody who's had kids, but Emmy was never really that bad when she was teething, and we didn't even know Lando was teething at all until I felt his mouth today, and literally there was white stuff poking out.
Yeah, he's broken teeth.
So,
nice.
The only thing we were like, man, he's waking up freaking early, and he won't go back to bed. But
really?
It just kind of, then we realized, well, let's check his teeth today. And whoops, we're good
That's
parents.
Why, yeah.
We pay real close attention.
How early was it?
Today he woke up at 4.
Ooh.
The day before, he also woke up at 4. So I took 2 days ago. Jesse took this morning, and then taking naps at like 7 a.m. for each of us, trying to survive.
Yeah, but you need to get them that stuff they can like rub on their gums before they go to bed to like.
We gave him some Motrin tonight.
Yeah.
It was really the first time that we knew what was going on. So we're a lot more.
He wasn't fussing about it?
No, not at all.
Wow.
Nice. Didn't whine, didn't cry, nothing. So he's a really happy kid. So that was kind of fun. Emmy didn't have teeth until like 14 months. So for us, this is like 4 months earlier than we anticipated.
Yeah.
But so that happened this week. Other than that, it's just been kind of, again, like I say, every week. I mean, I work from home all the time. Jesse stays home with the 2 kids, and we just live life. I'm in my office. I'm watching the freaking crap out of Supernatural.
Really? Still on that, huh?
We had Charles on the podcast not even 2 months ago.
Yeah, maybe
like
somewhere around there.
Yeah. Somewhere around there, and he mentioned it that he's still watching it 15 seasons. I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm on like season 9, episode 20.
Whoa.
So I just come in my office in the morning and I put it on the TV and I sit down and work and I just have it on. So I can burn through 6 episodes in a work day. And then I might get one in at night after Jesse and I go to bed, and she's reading Midnight Sun. That's something that's happened this week. The new Twilight book came out. Jesse got it, and she's been reading that a lot.
Wait a minute. That's the one that's like from the other perspective, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one that was like leaked online like 7 years ago?
Yeah, at least. So there were parts of it that were leaked as she was writing it, and she got in a frustrated state and decided not to release it. Now during quarantine, I guess she finished it, and now she's published and released it. So
she wants to capture some of that money that people want to spend because they're
all
cooped up and got nothing to do.
That's right. So Jessie would say that that's big news. I would also say good for her. And we did start watching Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
How is that?
It's actually a lot better than I thought.
Okay.
We were kind of looking for something different to watch. Yeah. And we landed on it 2 nights ago, and I really liked it. So we're on episode 4 now. They're long. I mean, they're a full hour each, usually like 42 minutes. I mean, these are 1 hour long episodes, so it's tough to get through too many at night after the kids go down because got to go to bed, blah, 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 blah. But that show's actually pretty good. So we've been enjoying that the last few nights. And then, the only other thing this week that's just been so nice, and I should have said this last week too, is I'm just loving that I can sit down and watch live sports. I mean, It is just a breath of fresh air to turn on the TV pretty much all day now because they're playing all day.
Right.
But it's nice to just be like, oh, let's see what NBA game is on today, or MLB or NHL. I mean, it was crazy to sit down and just watch like competitive sports. It was so nice. I'm so thankful that at least we have that.
It still feels kind of weird, though.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It feels
empty.
I've watched all of the sports that can be watched, including cornhole. I watched competitive cornhole on Saturday, which they had fans in a small room, which is like, what? How come cornhole can have fans but nobody else can? Whatever. Anyway,
right.
I like the NBA. I think the NBA does a really great job. I mean, they pipe in the sound. They've got virtual fans. It actually looks pretty good. They've done a really great job, so I've been impressed. But it is a little different, but it's just nice to have it back. I don't even care. I would have watched competitive chess 3 months ago. I just don't care.
Whew.
So now we're kind of getting
hard up for them sports with competitive chess.
Oh my gosh, I missed it so much. So can't wait for football to get here. Crossing my fingers that college football happens. I doubt it, but
I doubt it.
Let's get some pro. I don't care.
Okay. That sounds like a good week, Matt. Like you said, like nothing's happening, but it sounds like you've had a great week. As
you talk, talking helps. Okay, that's why therapists make money.
You realize that this is us not having to pay a therapist, right?
That's exactly what it is, and I love it.
Well, I'm going to lay down on the couch for a minute, and you're going to have to ask me questions about my, about my childhood or something, because let's roll back in time a little less than a month. I talked about the new chair that I got, and about how much I'm loving it. I love that it sits nice. I love that it feels good. I love that it even has a little back massaging lumbar pillow that I sometimes use, sometimes don't. Today, as I'm sitting at my desk, sitting in my throne of a chair, all of a sudden I started feeling myself getting smaller and smaller and closer to the floor. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And so I kind of like sit up a little bit and I click the little button to like pull it, put it back up. I'm like, oh, maybe I bumped it, maybe something.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting up, and then after maybe like another 10 minutes, I realize I'm back down to the bottom again. The gas cylinder on this chair either has a leak or has stopped working. And so now I just slide to the bottom of the thing. I feel like I'm sitting on the ground. Oh. And of course, I'm frustrated because the chair that was uncomfortable that I had for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, that monstrosity of a hip hurting chair, the gas piston in it is still perfectly fine. Not a problem.
Yeah.
And so, of course, what makes me really angry is like this chair was shipped from China. It took like 3.5 weeks to deliver. And I don't want to return it and then order another one. Like, I just don't want to go through that whole hassle.
A pain.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, let me look online. Let me see what I can do. Because I know you can replace the pistons on chairs. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll see about replacing the piston, maybe. And then someone's like, hey, for under $1, you can fix your chair. I'm like, okay, this is going to be put a little piece of piping over the piston so that it sits on that and it doesn't go down, which is exactly what it is. PVC pipe, 78 cents. I went tonight and got the thing, and as I'm trying to take the chair apart, I'm realizing the piston is not coming free. It is not getting out of there. And so like I'm taking pliers, I'm trying to twist and use the weight to move it, and it's not happening. And now like the pliers are like grinding into the metal of the piston, which I really don't care because it doesn't work anyway at this point.
Yeah.
But like I'm like taking this thing apart. I'm trying to do everything that I can to get it done, and it's just not happening. So I was like, because I understand, like, if I have to order another one of these things, it's going to take 5 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever from China. And I'm going to have to ship this back. I don't have the original box this thing came in. Even though it was a month ago, like, so, like, what are they going to, like, how am I going to ship this back to them?
Yeah.
It's huge. Like, I don't know, I'm going to have to go find a box. I'm going to, like, it's like, ugh. So I'm sitting at the lowest possible level right now that I can in this chair. And I'm kind of resigned to the fact, like, I either have to basically break the piston out of this thing to try to replace the piston. But if I could just get it free, like, I wouldn't even replace the piston. I'd just throw the 78 cents pipe fitting over it, and it would sit on that, and I'd call it good. And, like, I'd just be happy. Like, it'd be $1 fix. Let's move on. Instead of paying another, I don't know, $50, $75, $100 for a new piston.
Yeah.
And of course, this chair is like, it was $250. Like, that's some money for a chair. It's kind of like the knockoff of like the big brand name. Like the big brand name is like Secret Lab. Those chairs are like $500.
Yeah.
So this is like half that cost.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't. If I have to buy a new chair, like if that's gonna happen, like then I will order one from Secret Labs. And get the one that's like really good, that has like the service, and like they'll come out and fix it or whatever, and then I'll ship this back to China. I don't care, whatever it takes. Like I'll ship it back, get my money back, minus, I don't know, $40 for shipping, whatever it's gonna cost me. It just, so it's just frustrating. I mean,
annoying.
The next thing is I can try some WD-40. The piston's just lodged into that metal, and anyway. I got to figure it out. I got to figure a way to break that metal out of there. And, anyway, that's been frustrating. So let's rewind a little bit to the rest of last week and the weekend. That was not frustrating. That was fun. That was exciting. I told you I finished AP Bio.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I sat down with Brita and we were talking about something new. And I was like, how about Cobra Kai? Because I've been trying to get her to watch Cobra Kai. We watched both the first and second season of Cobra Kai this week. Because they're only 10 episodes. They're only like half hour long episodes. And so we powered through and watched all of Cobra Kai. And at first Brie was like, okay, this is, okay, whatever. And then by like the end of it, she was like, this is so good. She was blown away by like how it did hook her in. Even though it's got like the nostalgia stuff and it hits on the original, movies and whatnot, it's still its own thing. Like it did it really, really well, and she really enjoyed it. So we did that, and then we said, okay, let's find a movie to watch. And we watched 2 this week. We watched My Spy with Dave Bautista, and this like little girl, Ken Jeong, is in it.
Okay.
Where he works for like the CIA, and this like 9-year-old girl finds him out. And so he has to, like, I don't know, help her go ice skating and takes her out for ice cream. And, like, it's kind of like silly things, but, it's supposed to be more of kind of like a family-friendly movie. And I really enjoyed it. I really think that Dave Bautista did a really good job. Like, I know he's not, like, a professionally trained actor, but, like, you can see that, like, he's really, really improving. So...
Nice.
Like that a lot. And then we decided to watch Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Because I keep seeing it on Disney Plus.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, oh, these movies were horrible. They're not as good as the books. Here's the thing. We've never read the books. So we have no preconceived notions of how good or bad it's supposed to be.
Yep.
But I kind of went in saying, okay, look, this is based on a young adult novel. I understand young adult novels are kind of cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they can be just a little on the underdeveloped side as far as the plot.
Yeah.
There's going to be some leaps and bounds and then things that are going to skip that aren't going to make any sense. Let's just take it at face value as a popcorn movie. And we watched the movie, and Breed and I both really enjoyed it. We're like, obviously there was some things you're like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense to the plot based on what they just said earlier.
Yeah.
Like, that goes against its own logic.
Yeah.
And, okay, the CGI is not that great. I mean, the movie was also made in, 2010, maybe? 2008, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I try not to judge that too harshly, but it was a fun movie overall. We enjoyed it. I love kind of the Greek mythology stuff anyway.
Right.
So I enjoyed it, and we're about halfway through the second movie, Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. So
nice. Yeah, we've been thinking about watching that too, but yeah, we haven't read it, don't know anything about it.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought Jesse had read the books.
Nope.
Brita told me that. Okay. Brita was wrong. Okay.
Or I'm wrong, and I don't know my wife.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. I don't think you can necessarily say you don't know your wife if you don't know if she's read a book series.
I'm pretty sure she has not, though. Okay. But I don't know.
I would say, don't judge yourself that harshly, right? Like,
okay.
I don't even know my wife anymore.
I'll try not to.
Who are you woman? Don't go that route. Okay, here's the last thing. Matt, I pay attention because I want you to get in on this.
Okay.
There's a new game out that's free right now for PlayStation Plus members called Fall Guys, where you are these little, I don't even know what you call them, jelly bean looking characters with arms and legs, and you compete in a TV kind of game show type environment where you have all these little challenges similar to MXC Most Extreme Elimination Challenge or Wipeout. The show was on NBC or ABC, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And you go through a number of these challenges and you try to be the last, character standing, the last man, last woman standing to win the crown and to get first place. And I was like, okay, this kind of looks cool. I picked it up. I decided to stream it Friday night. The servers were having problems because there was some massive, and I mean massive, demand on this game because this game is catching and going like wildfire right now. And I ended up streaming the game for 8 hours Friday night.
What?
I didn't get off till 3 a.m.
Oh my.
At 11:30 at night, I said, okay, guys, it's getting late. One more game. At 11:30, I got off at 3. For 3.5 hours, I kept saying, come on, we can't go out like that. Just one more. Because it's addicting. There's 3 buttons. You literally, control the direction. There's a jump button, a dive button, and a grab button. Because sometimes you'll grab, eggs, and you try to get the eggs back into your, little baskets, your team's basket.
Okay.
And other teams are trying to steal eggs out of your basket, and so you're trying to grab them and defend them, or go grab their eggs, and whichever of the 3 teams has the least eggs, when the timer runs out, all those characters get eliminated and don't go on to the next round.
Got it.
And so there's all these little fun games, and you jump and you got to get through doors, and you try to get through, and only so many people move on, and at the end you win a crown and whatnot. And it's got a little battle pass that's free, and so you can earn new skins and different little outfits and whatnot to kind of personalize your little jelly bean. I call it a jelly bean because that's kind of what it looks like. Brita saw it and she's like, oh, that looks cool. Literally after I streamed it for 8 hours. So I downloaded it on the upstairs TV. And then she says, it's kind of a bummer that I can't play this while you're playing it. So I created a PSN ID for her and spent another $60 to get PlayStation Plus for a year. And we downloaded the game to her profile as well. So now we can play together. The kids are playing this thing. Last night, I streamed for 5 hours this game, Fallout Guys.
Wow.
Or Fall Guys. It was another streamer, Super Gibby's birthday. Once again, happy birthday. But he was streaming and I was streaming. We're kind of doing a co-stream. We had tons of people coming in. I finally got my first win.
Oh,
last
congrats.
night.
After 13 hours or whatever.
Well, I put more. I'm probably close to like 20 hours into this game, and I finally got my first win because it's so like here's the addicting thing. It's like you can be so close, and like you're racing and you're right next to one of these other little characters, and like you get bumped just a little bit by them, but like it throws you off course a little bit, and then you hit like an obstacle and it bounces you out of the way. So like even though like eventually you play through all the little maps, because you can grab other characters and because they can bump you and you can fall down and kind of trip them or they can trip you, like the randomness of it keeps you coming back because you're like, ooh, I was so close. If it wasn't for that one guy that fell down in front of me, I could have just had a straight shot, but instead I got tripped up by him, which then meant that boulder hit me and knocked me into the slime and I got eliminated. And so it is super addicting. You need to go download it. It's free right now for the month on PlayStation Plus. It is legit a good time and super, super fun
awesome.
and easy to play.
Cool.
But it always wants you to come back for just uno mas.
Uno
mas.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah, that was my week. We've been playing a lot of that Fall Guys here and having a good time. So
cool. Very cool.
Well, what do you say, Matt? Should we avoid the slime ourselves, but push the Bothans into the slime and let them die?
Let's get them.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we're into Rebel Intelligence. What do you have for me this week?
So the first thing I want to bring up is something that happened, 10 days ago by the time this podcast says. And just after we recorded, this was announced, but Disney will be releasing Mulan on Disney Plus. Yay, on September 4th. We're so excited.
Yay.
Mulan will cost an additional $30.
Boo.
Even if you're a Disney Plus subscriber and you do not own this movie.
Yeah.
If you stop with Disney Plus, the movie goes bye-bye. So this is a new model, a completely different, completely different. This is a different approach. It is certainly the most expensive approach that we have seen to the video on demand.
So let me ask you a question, because you said something I hadn't heard. So you're saying that if I were to plop down $30 for Mulan, that it will then just be like in my library, and as long as I continue to pay the monthly subscription at Disney Plus, it'll be there?
Yes.
Until what time? Because I would imagine eventually Disney Plus is just going to carry the movie.
Yeah. I mean, until whenever it is that happens. Yeah. Until, 6 or 8 months down the road and they have it.
Yeah.
So it isn't like buying the movie. It's like having, pre-access or whatever.
Well, it's similar to like the game I just described, Fall Guys.
Sure.
I got it for free on PlayStation Plus. If I wanted to actually purchase the game, it's like $20.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I continue to subscribe to PlayStation Plus, I still have that game in my library for free. But if I let my service lapse, I no longer can play that game. I think if I restore my service, I still would have access to it. But
Right.
So, I get that. That's... I understand that concept, that model in the gaming world. We've never seen anything like this in the video world, have we?
No, so this to me is ballsy. I mean, this is bold. One, I think the price is bold.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the precedent was set already by a lot of movies that have come out on video on demand.
Yeah.
And not only is it the most expensive, but they're putting it behind a paywall. So it's even doubly expensive for those that don't have Disney Plus. You're paying the $7 subscription fee plus $30. You're paying almost $40 to watch Mulan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, this is a big miss. We're not going to pay $30 probably because I don't want this to be something that they think they can keep doing. Disney already has all of my money in the world, and I don't want them to have even more. I don't know.
So here's the thing. If this had been a movie that was like, okay, let's go back. Let's say this was an animated movie. Let's say this was Onward.
Okay.
Right? A movie that I think is going to appeal to a lot of children because it's animated. It's going to have music. It's going to have, fun stuff. That play would have make more sense to me with the children aspect because kids are going to be like, Daddy, 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 I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this. Mommy, 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 please, please, please. The parents would be willing to shell out the $30 if it was the same thing just to say, okay, look, they can watch it. We've got a year of Disney Plus. It'll keep them quiet. They'll watch it a whole bunch of times. I might get my money's worth. And yes, you could probably rewatch Mulan a bunch, but I don't know a lot of kids that are necessarily, especially younger kids, for the big family movies that are clamoring to see these live action remakes. I feel like you got to be a little bit older for them. That's just my feel. And I may be wrong, but that's just kind of how it seems. The price misses for me. I understand the argument. People could say look, you get together, 2 families or 3 families and everyone chip in. I get that. But still the counter side is then only the one family who has the account has access to that. So you're going to have to come back over multiple times in order to watch that. But here's the thing. Okay, yes, it's behind the paywall. Earlier this year, during the pandemic, my kids wanted the movie Scoob, the new Scooby-Doo movie. And that was released on video on demand because of the COVID. And I could either rent it for $20 or I could pay $25 and actually just own it outright and download a digital copy. I paid the extra $5 just to download it and own it then, knowing that if my kids really liked it, I was going to end up buying it again anyway. So I get that Mulan's only $5 above that, plus then you still have to add in Disney Plus, but you don't own it. So it's a $30 rental. That seems well, it's a 33% increase over kind of what we're used to paying. And eventually, let's be honest, eventually it's going to come to the service. If this doesn't sell well, how long until it's just now on Disney Plus? And if that happens fast, how pissed would you be if you drop the $30 and it's and 3 weeks later, it's on there just anyway.
I don't like this idea at all. I don't think it's going to work well. I think they chose the wrong movie. I think if it's Pixar, it sells, but this is not Pixar. This is live action Mulan, which they're selling as a kung fu movie without the songs and without Mushu. Even as an adult man who loves Mulan and whose wife loves Mulan, we weren't even probably going to see this in the theaters because it just doesn't appeal in the same way that I want to see Mulan. There's no buzz about this movie in my community of friends. I'll tell you that. No one is talking about, I can't wait for Mulan. I'm so glad it's coming to Disney Plus for $30. No one is saying that. If it were Onward, I would easily have dropped the $30 to watch that with my family, but it was free.
Yep.
And so they really effed up. And I bought Scoob. I talked about that. I bought Scoob too. $25. I'll buy Scoob. Too. Yep. I'm not gonna pay $30 to rent Mulan though. Anyway.
Right. Especially because your kids aren't going to watch it, so it'd just be for you and Jesse.
Yeah, please. I got plenty of movies I can watch. I don't need to watch Mulan. I got a million other movies. Netflix is giving me something to watch every day.
I think that this is Disney trying to recoup money on a picture that they made that because of the current pandemic, they're not going to end up showing in theaters. And people, even let's say that they did decide to release it to the theater a month from now. After school's just barely started, people still aren't going to be going to the movie theaters for a while. People are still going to be, even if they said, look, there's a vaccine and we're delivering it right now, people are still going to avoid big crowded places for a while. So I think Disney looks at this as look, we have no way of making the money we thought we were going to make. let's try to find another way to make money on it so that we at least recoup the money that it cost to make this. I get that, but like drop the price a little bit because it's going to come to the service and it's behind a paywall and you probably would get wider adoption. Okay.
Moving on.
Wow. That was the first thing. And like, there's some real feelings you and I've got. Yeah. So, okay. John Wick.
Yes.
Have you seen the John Wick movies?
No, I have not, but I've heard they're great and I need to get around to it.
Yes, and yes. I've seen the three. They're real fun. They're real exciting. They're action movies with Keanu. You can't go wrong. Well, we've known for a little while that they're going to make a fourth one, but now it's been confirmed that there's actually going to be a fifth one also, and that they're filming 4 and 5 back to back. That way they have 2 more installments and they can release them as they needed to. John Wick 4 is going to hit theaters Memorial Day of 2022.
Okay.
So, a year and a half from now. And then we don't know when the fifth one, I'm probably going to guess the next year. So it's kind of good to know that, Keanu's doing that. Keanu's also making a fourth Matrix movie right now. Keanu's like in video games. Like,
he's everywhere.
Keanu's got Bill and Ted. Like, Keanu's got a whole bunch of stuff coming on, and I'm just telling you right now, Matt, if someone floats the idea of doing like a Point Break sequel and like going back to that one, I love that with Keanu, like do that. Like I can't get enough Keanu right now. So the idea of 2 more action shoot 'em ups with Keanu, I'm on
that's
board.
awesome. I love Keanu too.
We got a ways.
He's having a resurgence in a very, very big way, and he's the man. He's having a good last 18 months.
He's such a good positive dude. Like everyone I've ever heard say anything about him, it's always like how nice he is, how kind he is, like how he like doesn't look at himself in some sort of like, look at me, I'm popular, but just more like, whoa, I'm one of everyone. He just like looks at himself as like, I'm just a guy on the planet with everyone else. This just happens to be my job. I just stand in front of a camera and say lines and do things and act. Like, I like that. So I'm a big fan of Keanu. John Wick 4 and 5.
Awesome.
Coming May of 2022.
Yeah, very cool. Something coming up sooner than that to Hulu is the long-awaited, if you are a fan of them, reboot of the Animaniacs.
Okay.
The 90s relatively not irreverent, crazy, zany, out of control, silly, I don't listen to nobody cartoon characters. Did you watch the Animaniacs at all?
I mean, a little bit here and there. It wasn't like necessarily like my cup of tea.
Right. I'm with you. I think for me it was too crazy. And I like something that, I don't know. I would imagine like ADD, ADHD kids probably really loved it because it's just all over the map. It's like insane. Like, wow. But anyway, it is coming back. It's going to be on Hulu, like I said, and it's going to be released with 13 episodes on Friday, November 20th. Okay. So not too far away. It's still the executive producer is Steven Spielberg. That just cracks me up.
Right. Well, he was executive producer on the original series.
Do you think he's even watched it? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I just think that's funny. With Gabe Swar as the co-executive producer. So if you're a fan of the Animaniacs or you think your kids would be, it's coming back. I mean, the song, I can still sing the song for you right now.
Animaniacs. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know the words, I guess is what I should say. That is the part that I also know.
You know the tune.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's back. I think it's probably because 90s kids are getting older and they want nostalgia, and some of them have kids themselves and stuff. So I think we'll see a lot more 90s reboots happening.
What year were you born?
88.
Okay. So you probably consider yourself a 90s kid. because most of your childhood was in
yeah.
the 90s. I mean, yeah. It's interesting because I had a conversation. Someone said, well, I'm a 90s kid. They're like, you were a 90s kid, right? I'm like, well, I consider myself an 80s kid because by the time like 1990 rolled around, I was 12. I did like my early, like my, little bit of my preteen years and all my teenage years into like, my adult years during the 90s. So it's like teenage, high school, those were like the 90s for me. And so like, yeah, so it's like certain things like Animaniacs, like that's, to me, that's like a 90s kids cartoon.
Right.
And like by that point, I was like, maybe I still dabbled a little bit and caught some stuff, but like most of my cartoon watching was more like the 80s.
Right.
So.
Yep.
But speaking of something though, Matt,
Yes.
that transcends from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and the 2010 teens, however we're calling this thing now, Star Trek.
Yes, Star Trek.
So Star Trek has had a long and bumpy road on TV, into movies, back to TV, off TV, into movies, back to TV, and so forth. Right now, though, Star Trek is having like a moment with CBS All Access. Star Trek Discovery has been amazing. Star Trek Picard was really good. And now we've got the Star Trek Lower Decks that I'm super excited to watch, that animated show. But I'm going to wait until all of them are out, and then I'll probably get a CBS, maybe like, do the week trial or the month trial, whatever it is. And then watch it all. So Paramount has a new director, a new president, Emma Watts. And she used to be over at Fox. Now she's at Paramount. But she's kind of in a tough place right now because the movies, like, they need to put out a Star Trek movie.
Yes, I agree.
We talked about this a while ago, that there was the Star Trek movie that Noah Hawley was doing, and that kind of was put on hold because it was, I think, with the original cast. Well, I say original. This, like, rebooted original cast. But that, like, the costs were going up. Actors wanted more money. There was the Quentin Tarantino film that was kind of in the works where he was going to do a Star Trek movie, but it was going to be edgier. He was going to cast all new people to play his roles and whatnot. That's been shelved. It's just kind of disappeared into production limbo. No one knows what's going on. It sounds like it's probably not happening. And while all of this is going on, they can't get directors, they can't find writers, they can't agree on anything. The TV is still just like kicking butt and taking names. And apparently Emma Watts is struggling over at Paramount right now, according to a lot of insiders, a lot of people, that are basically saying that, like, they have no clue what they want to do because they can't get a solid direction, but they're feeling the pressure because this is one of their big tentpole IPs, and they need to make a big movie. Mm-hmm. They need to capture a lot of that money for fans, but they don't know what to do. They're talking about maybe going back to the cast of these kind of reboot movies, but if they do that, it's going to cost them a lot. J.J. Abrams has moved on. He's not going to be involved. So, like, they may have to do one of those movies without J.J. Abrams, and with rising costs, like, it would have to be amazing in order to recoup. It's a tough position. I like to see Star Trek. I'd like to see more movies, but I'm a little worried it may be quite a while, and that we may get far enough past these movies that, like, trying to do something with the cast that did these three kind of reboots, maybe it might be too long of a time between the last one to now, but not enough time that if they reboot it, everyone's going to say, like, well, this is just like freaking the Spider-Man movies. We're rebooting them every couple of years. Yeah. So, like, they run that risk too. I don't envy Emma. Not at all.
No, it's tough. I mean, I just checked. So I think the last one was Into Darkness, if I'm not mistaken.
Star Trek Into Darkness, yep.
That was in 2013. It's already...
No.
2020.
Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure that was the last one, but maybe it's not.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Which was the one that JJ didn't do because he didn't finish it. Was it Star Trek? Oh my goodness. Beyond?
Yep. Yeah, Star Trek Beyond. That was the
2016,
last one.
so it's been 4 years.
Yep.
And I really, anybody who's listened to the podcast the last year knows that I don't know anything about Star Trek. I'm not a Star Trekky trekker guy. That's not that ain't my thing. However, I really, 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 I'm just ignoring you completely.
I know.
I really
and I'm not gonna give up.
the reboot franchise from Bad Robot. I thought that those movies were really good. Really, really good.
Yep.
I really, really liked them. And so I was getting excited about it. Like, I saw all of those movies in the theater, and I'm not a Trek person, so it was a little surprising. And then, like, the momentum just died.
Honestly, it was because of that Star Trek reboot by J.J. Abrams. That's the reason he got Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was so successful.
It really
was. It was a massive blockbuster, and everybody wanted to see it, and even me.
And it treated the originals with reverence and respect, and it made people feel like, yeah, this is kind of a reboot, but he's like not taking a dump all over what came before. There's nods, there's things,
right?
And that's why they gave him The Force Awakens. Anyway,
so it's kind of it's a bummer that they couldn't have gotten something figured out sooner, because I think you're right. We're approaching a time where too much time has elapsed. I'd be okay with a reboot. I don't really care because I'm not a huge Star Trek person. So if they rebooted everything, I'd be like, okay, cool. Just tell me a cool story. I don't really care about these characters. Okay,
here's the other thing. If they were to reboot, don't reboot the original cast. Leave Kirk and Mr. Scott and Spock and Bones and Uhura. Like, leave it alone. Also because the one guy, Anton, what's his name? The guy that plays Chekhov, he died.
Yeah, he did.
So, like, leave that alone. Reboot the Next Generation cast. Recast Picard, Will Riker, Worf, Tasha Yar, Deanna Troi, like, Beverly Crusher, Will Crusher. Like, recast that.
Yeah, because I don't know what that is. So, yeah,
because the Next Generation is beloved by fans. Recast that. Do that.
Well, she's...
Make movies. Anyway.
She's in a bad position, and they need to get something figured out because people want to watch good movies that are Star Trek, myself included.
Yeah.
So, I've got one more thing.
Okay.
This is the last thing that I have. This involves one of my favorite people, Jason Bateman. And he is directing a new movie.
Cool.
So he's done a little bit of directing. I think he directed an episode of Ozark that he actually won an Emmy for. And he's done some writing and stuff like that. But this is a movie. And it is a screen adaptation of a recently released novel by Gus Kryger. And the book and movie will be called Superworld. So the plot or the premise is it's 2038. You're on Earth and it's populated entirely by individuals with superpowers. And the story is about the one guy who does not have any powers.
Okay.
So kind of a fun spin on superheroes,
at
least to me. This sounds interesting. Jason Bateman is a great actor. He can do comedy, he can do drama, and I'm excited to see what he can do as a director and who he gets to be in this. So I think there's some fun possibilities with this movie, but I just thought it was cool because I like Jason Bateman and this sounds like a cool premise.
Yeah. Like, how long has everyone had superpowers? Like, if something happened overnight and like everyone was given superpowers except this one guy, then it's like, oh, okay, you can take it. But like, Did everyone grow up with superpowers? How did how did his powers not manifest? How did he have friends in high school
we'll
or
find
junior
out.
high, elementary? Oh gosh, that's okay.
We'll
that's kind of a cool idea.
It is. I'm excited for it. Who knows when it'll be released? Probably like 2050 by now, because coronavirus is going to stop production on things for 45 more years.
So, the movie's set in 2038, but it's going to release in 2050. Yeah. In a future, everyone has superheroes except, now it's the past.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh. Anyway, so there you go.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice. Okay, the last thing that I have. This is some Doctor Who news. I love the reboot of Doctor Who. It took a while for my wife to convince me to watch it. I know, Matt, you haven't got there yet. Once again, I'm saying yet because I think this will be a show that once you get into it, you will fall in love with it. When it rebooted in 2005, fans of the old series referred to the fans of the new series or this new show as New Who because it was a reboot. It had been off TV for about 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But Christopher Eccleston, who was like the bad guy from Gone in 60 Seconds, the car movie of Nicolas Cage, he actually played the Doctor in the reimagining, the reboot of Doctor Who. So the Doctor is, Matt, this is for you. The Doctor is a time traveler.
Oh, I know a little bit about it.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking. I don't know, baby.
I've seen Inspector Space Time.
Okay, there you go. He travels through time and space. He helps people. He fixes things. But Christopher Eccleston only played the Doctor for the first season of the reboot, and then it became David Tennant, and David Tennant took over the role. The show was written so that the main character that they could. A main character's contract could expire, they could bring in someone else to play the role, and they could keep the show rolling. But everyone was a little shocked that when the show came out, he only did one season, and he has gone on to say, in the years since that, he really enjoyed playing the character, but at the time he was going through a bunch of stuff personally. He was depressed, he was going through some mental issues and some struggles, and that he kind of, didn't have the best working experience maybe. And so they decided to go on with someone else. Well, it's just been announced that he's actually returning to the role in a series of audio adventures. And they're going to be released starting in May of 2021. And it's this company that's actually been bringing old actors that have played the Doctor in the past to do like these full audio stories with audio adventures, basically like new episodes, but just in an audio format. And that Christopher Eccleston has decided to come back. He's going to record something like 4 box sets, and there'll be like 3 each, I think. So I think we're looking at like something like 12 new adventures. They're going to be released beginning in May of 2021. I love this version of Doctor Who. I liked his Doctor. He wasn't my favorite at the time, but I like the idea that he's finally in a better place and he's excited to kind of embrace the role he played and to come back and to do something, because I think it's a big win for the fans of Doctor Who.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. If you like Doctor Who, bully for you.
Yeah, it's good. So anyway, that's a little bit of exciting news for the Whovians, as we are called.
The Whovians,
which Matt will be called soon. That's right. Dr. Whovians. Anyway. So yes, nice. Christopher Eccleston will return. Matt, last week, you and I had probably, I gotta say, one of my more favorite conversations in recent memory on the podcast, where we decided to go back with a time machine and stop some movies from being made and recast a movie, a classic movie, and then also to fix something. We asked our super friends what movie would they recast. And so we got a few answers, and we're going to read those. And you know what? Because I switched things up a little bit last week, I'm going to switch things up a little bit this week. We're going to start on Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
Shocking.
I'm having a heart attack.
It's been 193 episodes, and we've always gone to email first, but we are starting on Twitter.
Love it.
So, at Fort of Nerd, that's our address on Twitter. 846, I Can't Breathe, at DSpin67 says, The Dark Knight Rises. Tom Hardy, adios. I would have The Rock as Bane. Merely because Bane is such a physically big character, and when he broke Batman's back, that would have been more believable. I read that Tom Hardy is shorter than Christian Bale. It is true, like,
Tom Hardy's short. For sure.
Bane in that movie does not look very physically imposing.
I don't know. He looks scary to me.
I mean, he might look scary, but he doesn't look physically imposing.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I'm fine with that. I don't know. As long as they keep that iconic voice.
Oh, gosh, no, Matt. I hate that voice.
I think Bane's the only good thing about The Dark Knight Rises, honestly.
I think The Dark Knight Rises should have been not made. But that's just me. I didn't like that movie at all. And I could not stand the voice. Okay, and now I'm going to get back on my soapbox about this, and I've talked about it before, but I couldn't stand the voice, and it's not, I think, because of the voice itself that, Tom Hardy affected a little bit of it, but it's the way the audio engineers mixed that, because his voice pitches really high and then kind of low, and it was not loud enough, and so, like, it was so bad when I saw it in the theater. And I know that when they released it to like DVD or a special edition, like I think they went back in there and they cleaned it up some, but in the theaters, it was like, I remember sitting there going, what did he say? What happened? What is he doing? And this was not because I'm getting old, Super Friends. You can check that at the door.
Right.
That's not the reason. Cause that was like a decade ago. I was just barely 30 at the time. It was bad. Like, I could not, like, I liked the idea, but, like, the voice was atrocious in the theater.
Okay.
So, okay, BBN at GOAT at Daryl_Lindsay says, forget that. Hardy killed it as Bane. Made him better than the comic book Bane. Hugh Jackman is a foot taller than Wolverine. Sometimes the right person is the right person no matter the size. So a little bit of back and forth,
I support that person. I thought it was great, and I love the voice.
You were wrong. Bernabe Butters at Dantes_Belmont says, I was thinking on how to recast The Godfather, but who am I kidding? That movie is perfect. I told him to try harder.
Yeah.
And then he never got back to me, and I went, Bernabe. Okay, Bernabe, you're a super friend. You know how this goes. You got to at least do something. Like, I think The Wizard of Oz is perfect. Like, I would never touch The Wizard of Oz in real life. In this hypothetical world, though, we have to take something and recast it. And so I recast that movie. Even though, like, if I really could, I would never do
No.
it.
No.
El Maiko at Gizpika says, so if I were to recast a movie, first off, I'd recast the director, and that would be Quentin Tarantino, and he would be able to finally make Lord of the Rings not boring.
All right. Okay. I respect everyone's opinion.
No.
And you're entitled to it.
I knew who this is. This is a friend on Twitch, and my response back to him was like, that hurts bad, because I love Lord of the Rings, and I think it was perfectly cast. But Quentin Tarantino?
He would make the worst Lord of the Rings movie ever. He's the last one that I would choose. Actually, Wes Anderson is the last one, and then Quentin Tarantino.
I don't think Quentin Tarantino has ever done anything in the fantasy realm. Ever.
No.
So,
yeah. Hard pass on him.
I just feel like that's trolling.
Yeah,
I feel
of course
like that's
it is.
Hardcore trolling. Okay, BBN's the GOAT at Daryl_Lindsay came back and said, Rowan Atkinson as John Wick.
What?
And if you know who Rowan Atkinson is, that's Mr. Bean. I think that's actually really funny.
That would be interesting.
I mean, kind of would feel more of like a kind of a satire,
so stupid,
a parody,
man.
But I love it.
Gosh, you Super Friends, man.
I think that's so funny.
You guys are killing me this week. Gosh, give me something.
This week was good. All right, let's go over to email because it's our last one.
Peter, come through.
And it's a little lengthy.
Of course.
So buckle up, Super Friends. We got Peter Christensen. He says, Dear Nerds, for the difference on the intro, it was two nerds we just refused to grow up instead of the usual two nerds who refuse to grow up. Come on, like if there's a super friend who's going to notice, it's Peter.
Yep.
For barbecue, I also recommend Malcolm Reed's How to Barbecue Right. He's from Mississippi, but still trustworthy. I have had consistently good results following his recipes and videos. I agree, Malcolm is amazing. He says, you might have noticed that Disney Plus is aggressively promoting the 2015 Fantastic Four, or as I like to call it, Fant Four Stick, because of the way they write fantastic.
Yeah.
I had never seen it, heard it was terrible, and hated the earlier Fantastic Four movies that went from bad to worse, so I've joked about the Fantastic for years. I amused myself with a joke that we should play the Fantastic drinking game, where you watch Fantastic and drink a drink every time you weren't watching Fantastic. So we watched it ironically, no drinking though, and was pleasantly surprised. I think the best parallel is Man of Steel. Sacrilegious to fans of the decades of canon, but a pretty well done reimagining. It did a much better job of establishing the characters and their relationships with each other. As a team coming together, it was way better than the Justice League and approaching the first Avengers. They also do a good job making the villain menacing. There's some definitely corny parts and glossed over technical mumbo jumbo, but not too much. Watching it felt like watching the Star Wars prequels. Disappointing if you compare them to the hopes and dreams for beloved characters, but not as bad as their reputation. It's definitely worth a watch, and it's only 1 hour and 40 minutes, although the second half feels rushed. I give Fantastic a B-, or, if you compare it to the two Fantastic Four movies, A+++ valedictorian PhD Doogie Howser.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. It actually has a good cast, which is what's disappointing to me.
I know. It's on my list of things I heard weren't good, but I'm going to give it its own viewing and see.
I was excited until he said, best parallel is Man of Steel. And then I went, I hate Man of Steel. So that was a terrible, terrible decision. Now I'm not going to watch it.
He says, we started watching New Girl, largely based on Matt's endorsement, plus it's on Netflix. It is so wild, and I've laughed out loud more at the first 6 episodes than I've laughed at TV in a while. It's about as raunchy as I can take, but boy howdy, do they make nudity hilarious. I'm hoping it stays at this level. I didn't know there was nudity in this show.
It's on Fox.
Oh, so it's more like hey, you're standing behind a banana that's in the kitchen.
Yeah. There's no
gotcha.
There's no nudity in it, per se.
Yeah, gotcha. Which or no which, I've seen George R.R. Martin, and I'm pretty sure he'll float. Burn him! Burn him at the stake! Anyway. Okay, here's my time machine choices. For deleting movies from the past, I would set the clock for 2012, navigate to New Zealand, and prevent the Hobbit trilogy from ever being made.
That was on my list. Agree.
I'm so torn on that.
It was terrible.
Because I loved Lord of the Rings, and I love the Hobbit book, and I know that they pulled other material from the appendices, but it just didn't feel like the Hobbit, but I still it's just, there's things about it I liked, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't. I'm so torn on that movie. Anyway, for your choice of Avatar, wouldn't it be easier to get James Cameron a new writer rather than deleting the whole movie? I think you have an unreasonable hatred for Avatar at this point if you ignored Transformers 2 through 5, Pirates 2 through 5, 3 Fantastic Four movies, Terminator 3, whatever, Fantastic Beasts 2, Ghost Riders, and Tom Cruise's Mummy Cinematic Universe. And Cats. My goodness, Cats. On your way to the Cameron estate. Now, I'm going to say in defense of my pick, because I stand behind it, Peter. I stand behind it. I also would have gotten rid of all these movies if I could get rid of more movies than just one. I would have gotten rid of Transformers 2 through 5. I would have gotten rid of Pirates 2 through 5, the Fantastic Four movies, Terminator 3 and everything else that came behind it, Fantastic 2, Ghost Riders, the Tom Cruise, and I've never seen Cats, so I'm just going on reviews. Oh, if I could get rid of lots, I would get rid of lots. But I stand behind Avatar because it's an absolutely horrible story, and I got so darn sick and tired of everyone saying, like, you gotta see this, Great, it looks pretty. I got it. But this is 2020. Everything looks pretty. Everything looks prettier than Avatar now. That, remind you, came out in 2009. So I stand by it. But you're not wrong. There's lots of other crappy movies, Peter, that definitely need to be removed if we had a time machine.
Yes,
just saying.
To what he said. I agree. All of those movies are probably worse than Avatar. I feel that Peter has swayed me on this. Minus Pirates 2, which is actually good. Everybody gets Pirates crap, but Dead Man's Chest is cool. Davy Jones is cool. But other than that, yes, especially Fantastic Beasts 2. Talk about a massive letdown for massive Harry Potter fans like myself and Jesse. Wow, bad.
So I'm glad you're on board with Peter. I have no problem with that. But it's my time machine, and I get to do with it what I want.
That's true, and I would stick with my picks I chose last week anyway above those movies.
Yep. Okay, he says, for recasting classic movies with modern actors, here are some rapid-fire ideas. Top Gun with Ryan Gosling as Maverick.
Cool.
Independence Day, Chris Evans as President and Zac Efron as Will Smith.
Okay. We're just throwing names out there. I like it.
Joe versus the Volcano with Chris Pratt as Joe and Emma Stone as Meg Ryan. I like that. I actually like that one. Kindergarten Cop with Chris Hemsworth or Dave Bautista.
Okay.
I actually think Dave Bautista because I think he's a better comedic actor.
Okay.
I think his comedy chops are better. Anyway, Avatar, but choose any of hundreds of better actors to replace what's his name.
Yeah.
Sure. Race swapping bonus. Liar Liar with Dave Chappelle instead of Jim Carrey.
Okay.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Anthony Mackie as Robin Hood and Robert Downey Jr. as Azim with Denzel Washington as the evil sheriff. Here's the big one. It's sensitive territory, so be gentle. I would recast Willow with Ryan Reynolds as Mad Mardigan, Hop for the Mountain Bjorgensen as General Kale, Julianne Moore as Queen Bavmorda, Jessica Chastain as Sorsha, Joe Manganiello as Eric, Michelle Pfeiffer as Rozelle, and Donald Glover and Danny Pudi as Troy Nobet as the Brownies.
You gotta be kidding me. That would be so funny.
There aren't many dwarf actors, and Peter Dinklage is too intense to play Willow, so let's let Andy Serkis be the hero for once and motion capture act out a digital Willow.
Wow.
I like that.
Wow.
He says, reactions to your choices. I would enjoy seeing Luis Guzman as Indigo Montoya in The Princess Bride.
Okay.
Peter Dinklage will kill you in your sleep for making him play all the Munchkins. Yeah, hold on a second. Okay. For time shifting, I would bring iconic directors from the past and give them huge modern budgets to compete with their modern equivalents. John Hughes would give Judd Apatow some competition for middle-aged men comedies. Stanley Kubrick would compete with Christopher Nolan for insane, tightly controlled, practical effect brilliance and intensity. Imagine what that psycho could create with $200 million budget. This was a fun exercise. Now it's time to park the DeLorean and get back to 2020's classic movie summer of shuttered theaters. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
Wow.
I like that. Oh, I forgot to read something. I missed this because I wanted to bring this up too because we did talk about this a little bit. He says, for DeVito movies, he would recommend Twins and Hercules. Says, okay, he said, I'll own it too. I've said that slur from Bill and Ted before, like roughly 200 times a day in high school. It was the 90s in Florida. I've grown a lot since then. I remember reading this email earlier, and as I was going back through it just now, I was like, I missed something, because there was a moment in there as I read Peter's thing where I went, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like there's things from my past that I did that we didn't think anything of it at the time. We didn't understand how insensitive or how hurtful it was, but I've learned, I've grown, and I'm not the same person I was back in high school. And anyway, I wanted to bring that up because I saw that, and it did make me think of that again. And I think it's good to remember that as humans we can grow and get better and improve, and not to hold people so stringently for mistakes that have been made in the past. So, well, that just got a little
I am
on the downside. Sorry, but Matt, how can our super friends help us this week?
Well, super friends, this week, I want to thank you again for your interaction, the back and forth, the comments to each other, not just to us. Thank you for having fun with us, for enjoying this exercise, because it was really fun. We had a great time with it, had a great time listening to what y'all had to say. Some of you tried harder than others. Some of you just gave us bullcrap answers, which we also love to read. Keep us on our toes, make us laugh.
Yes, for sure.
This week, well, I was trying to think of something, and sometimes we have a sentimental moment here on the Fortress of Nerditude, and today is important. And I wanted to. I'm laughing already because it's not. It's important.
I was like, this feels like a bait and switch.
Send your thoughts for me. I don't know if you care, and if you do, great. If you don't, great. Send your thoughts to the college football gods that we can have a college football season, that COVID will go away sometime soonish, and that my kids can go trick-or-treating, that we can have a great fall and winter. Send your thoughts. If you're a believer, send your prayers. And
is it wrong that like half of the hosts of the podcast are rooting against the college football?
Gosh, moving on. We are also, while men of religion, also men of science. Wear your masks.
Yeah.
Keep yourself distant as best you can, and we can get through this.
Look after yourselves and each other.
Yes, yes. Be smart. Have fun.
Be smart.
And hope their college football season will happen. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. So, Matt, I told you how we were watching Cobra Kai.
Yes.
And like I got a big kick out of it because I love The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid to me is literally like the quintessential 80s movie. Everything about it just screams the 80s. The way it was filmed, the characters, the dialogue, the music. I mean, it just captures that feeling. And Breed and I were talking as we were watching this because the main two characters that kind of help anchor the show is Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence, played by Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, the same actors reprising their role from the original films. And we were kind of talking, and it was just kind of one of these things where like we were just kind of laughing about how the fact that, they were blending the nostalgia for the original stuff, and then they have this kind of like newer cast, and it's not like a passing the torch, but they're telling a story 30 some years later, 30 years down the road. And Brita said to me something like, she's like, boy, I don't know that I know Ralph Macchio for anything other than the Karate Kid. And obviously William Zabka too, but I kind of said, well, he did have a role in My Cousin Vinny. He also was in The Outsiders. Like, he did other things prior and after, but realistically, only people know him. Most people know him. Like, he's really kind of defined by the role of Daniel LaRusso. I mean, he played it in 3 films, and then 30 years later in this, TV show that was on YouTube and that may be going to Netflix or not. So I thought it might be kind of interesting to like go back and take a trip down memory lane of some actors and actresses that are maybe defined by the one big role that they had, even though they've done other stuff, like they're always going to be known as this character.
Yep.
And I'm going to randomly pull a number out of my hat and say like the top, 17 or 18.
Perfect.
And we'll just, like
something
we don't need to do 10.
Like that.
We don't need to do 20. Something random. 17, 18, whatever.
Sure.
And you can go, I'll go, we'll just fire back and forth. And we'll see if there's like any consensus on like, I don't know. Because you and I kind of talked about this, and you had like a little bit of a different criteria, right? That you were kind of judging these actors by?
Yeah. It was hard. First of all, this was more difficult than I thought it was going to be because I was trying to be like, I don't know, really strict about it. Like literally, they only did this, and that's it. So...
Okay.
I don't know.
So like they had like one movie rule?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I kind of broke my own rule a few times. I was trying to be... my criteria was if someone came up to you on the street, if you were that person, they always ask you to say a line from this movie, or they always talk about this movie. They don't talk about anything else. And and that was kind of what I was trying to get at. And I tried to stay away from recent stuff because I want to give these actors time to grow.
Sure.
And so I tried to stay away from like, I don't know, for instance, I thought of, nobody could play Captain America like Chris Evans. Chris Evans is Captain America. Then I was like, no, he was effing amazing in Knives Out, and he was the opposite of Chris Evans. So it's too recent for me to say Chris Evans.
And he was Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, well, nobody knows him from that because it was
Everyone
terrible.
knows him from... No, anyway, okay.
So,
right.
Anyway, I tried to stay away from too recent of things because there's some easy low hangers there, I think, particularly in the MCU that you could go for, but it's just too soon, I think. But anyway, yeah. So
why don't you kick us off? Who do you got first at like 17, 18?
I will go first. And this is a surprise one that you don't even know about.
Okay.
You will not even recognize the name. This is Patrick Renna. Patrick Renna
actually name does sound familiar.
Is Ham from The Sandlot.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He is and this is part of the criteria. The guy could be recognized and picked out of any crowd. You would know him exclusively from The Sandlot. I can't think of anything else he's been in that has done anything at all. His IMDb pictures are all from The Sandlot. He still makes money from The Sandlot. They just did the anniversary. They were just at a baseball game. The Sandlot is his thing. So for me, and from that movie, I would say Smalls is great, but Ham was always like what the movie was and still is for me. So for me, that is the role that he will always be remembered for and be famous for.
I just want to make sure you're not going to be like, that one kid who stood in the background that was just an extra?
This is like, this kid is I think he's big enough to where you could say, like, that's it. That's Ham.
He wasn't the lead of that movie, but he definitely was like...
He's like
a big supporting actor. And you're right, yeah. Like, I know who you're talking about, and I've seen him in like, press appearances for The Sandlot. I never saw him in anything else that I'm aware of.
And he looks the same, and it's fantastic.
Okay. I like that. Okay, I'm going to come in, and I'm also trying to rank mine from like the, I don't know, not more obscure, because they're all pretty well known, but like I'm going to try to get it so like my last pick or two are probably the biggest, most well known, like the big ones. Okay. So the first one I've got is Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
As Kevin McAllister from Home Alone.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he did Home Alone and then he did Home Alone 2, but that Home Alone movie just hit at the right time. Everyone in America saw that thing. I mean, it grossed like $285 million in the box office domestically. Everyone saw him. I know he went on to do some other films. Like he was in stuff like The Good Son, I think, and like The Page Master, and like nothing else he ever did was anywhere approaches Home Alone. Matter of fact, just a couple of years ago, like he kind of like did like reprise that character for like a Google Home commercial.
Yeah.
Like he understands like that's his thing. Like he's probably one of the most successful child actors of all time, but he is known as Kevin McAllister.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesse said that one often on Sundays on our drive that we go on. We talk about the podcast and we go through the ideas. And she said that one. I was like, oh, that is perfect. That fits this mold. He might be the prime example of being known for one role. And I love that movie.
He's not the biggest star on my list, though. But I agree. He's definitely only like that's his thing, right? You're going to come up to him and you're going to say, Kevin! And you're going to, like that's,
Yeah. So I'm going to go with kind of a double because these people are from the same show. So I'm going to go with Matt LeBlanc, who played Joey Tribbiani, and Lisa Kudrow, who played Phoebe from Friends.
Yeah.
Joey kind of did like, I think it was like a spin-off. Like what happens to Joey after Friends? And nobody cared and nobody watched.
No one cares.
And then he recently did another show that nobody cared about and nobody watched. Man with a Plan is what it was called or something like that.
Yeah.
Long story short, Matt LeBlanc will always...
He did a movie too.
Oh,
with a monkey.
I'm so sorry. Matt.
He did a movie with a monkey.
My apologies to Matt and his monkey counterpart. My bad. Long story short, he has done nothing outside of Friends that's been super successful, and his role in Friends is so iconic and ran for so many years, and that show is such a cult hit, and it's revived now and has new life with it being on Netflix before, and now it's on HBO Max. I mean, a whole new generation is enjoying it. I mean, he is fantastic as that character. And it's hard when you're in TV in particular. I feel like in TV, when you get cast as something, it's hard after someone's seen you do it for 9-10 years to be cast as something else. Same with Lisa Kudrow. She's been in a few things here and there. She's recently in Space Force. She was in The Good Place, like little bits here and there, but she's Phoebe Buffay, and she always will be. And she'll be that crazy, zany, funny, smelly cat. What are they feeding you, girl?
Like it's interesting. Like you picked those two out of the cast of Friends because there's 6 people. So like you'd think like, okay, maybe like 1 or 2 stars that would maybe like transcend. Right. And the funny thing is like, I think obviously Jennifer Aniston's the biggest one to break away because she's done
she's
all sorts of movies and whatnot. But like Courtney Cox has done
a lot.
She's successful. She was another lead in that Cougar Town, I think.
Cougar Town.
And she was in movies as Gail Weathers in the Scream movies. Right. Like she did other stuff. Matthew Perry did other stuff. Like he was on that Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Right.
And he was one of the leads there. He had some reoccurring roles on The West Wing. Like he's done some stuff.
You could have chosen Ross, but everybody hates Ross, so it doesn't matter.
But the thing is with David Schwimmer, though, like...
He's done a few things. I mean... He's in a show right now, too. Well,
he's in a show right now that he's the lead on. But also, he was, what's his name? Colonel Himmel? No, I mean, not Colonel Himmel. He was the drill sergeant in Band of Brothers.
Oh.
That, like, everyone hated. I read that book. I'm trying to think what his name was. Peter Christensen, I know, knows this. Because Peter Christensen, I know, loves Band of Brothers, so he can correct me next week. But anyway, like, so yeah, it's just interesting. But like, yeah, Matt LeBlanc and
Lisa Kudrow.
Lisa Kudrow. Yeah, they got defined by those roles, and that'll probably be their biggest to date. Okay, the next one, which for me was interesting because I've only seen like the first season of this show. It ran for 7 seasons. I had a hard time wanting to watch this because there was a movie that came out before in the early 90s, but Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy Summers in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She is iconic in that role. She was the lead of that show. It ran for 7 seasons. She's a teenager that slays vampires, right? It was huge. It was Joss Whedon. she's tried to do other stuff, voice act, and I am pulling out voice acting because there are people that have been on camera actors,
right,
and then like transitioned into VO
foreshadowing,
careers. And I'm pulling out the VO side of their careers because that's not a role you're acting and being seen in. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Sarah Michelle Gellar, like, I think everyone to the end of time is going to remember her for that role and that role only.
Yeah, we'll have some generational thoughts because this will depend on your generation. Because for me, I never watched Buffy. I knew Sarah Michelle Gellar from Scooby-Doo as she acted as the hot one. What's her name?
Oh, see,
not Velma, the other one.
You just proved my point. You can't think of the
what is the name of her character? Velma? Oh, Daphne. She played Daphne in the 2 Scooby-Doo movies. I don't know. She's 7 seasons. And she's done nothing, though. You're exactly right. She's done nothing since then. Interesting. I'm going to go with... Oh, gosh. Where should I go next? Okay, here we go. Jesse and I recently restarted this series of films. We watched them semi-ironically and also semi-unironically because they're kind of good in like the weirdest way. Twilight. And I'm going with Taylor Lautner as Jacob. Taylor Lautner has disappeared off the face of the earth. That man was like the shiz when that came out. Him being shirtless and Team Jacob and Taylor Lautner dating Taylor Swift, and the guy was everywhere. He was massive. And he's done some other things. I think he was in like a TV show on Netflix, and I think he had like a movie Abducted or whatever, but it doesn't matter. He will always be known by every man, woman, and child as Jacob from Twilight. You're not going to break free from that.
I've never seen him in any of those movies because I've never watched them, but I saw all the media that he was getting, all like the teen heartthrob magazines, you know, all the news things that would talk about Team Jacob, Team Edward, Taylor Lautner. And like, he was like the hot guy in Hollywood for a period, but he's disappeared.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything else.
Nope.
And yeah. I mean, I would have almost said like Robert Pattinson probably could fit in there. I mean, people could say, well, he played, Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter, but he played like the character of Edward for like what, 4, 5 movies, however many movies there was.
5, yeah.
But now he's going to be the Batman in the new Matt Reeves Batman. So like,
yeah, you can't say him yet.
He may have a chance to break away and be known for other things.
Yep.
But
and he's in Tenet. I mean, we got to give him a chance to see his like serious acting chops, to see. I mean, if Christopher Nolan can cast him in like his big blockbuster, we may be wrong about Robert Pattinson, and I'm excited to see him in kind of a more, I mean, it's overly dramatic at Twilight, but a dramatic role that is actually not just a teen movie. But anyway, Jacob Lautner or Taylor Lautner is Jacob, classic, iconic.
Yeah. Where is Taylor Lautner now? Like, they should put that guy's picture on the side of a milk
I know.
carton. I mean,
he's lost.
He's gone. Okay. I'm going to go back into the 80s on this one. Little movie about the Catskills and some dancing. I'm talking about Dirty Dancing. I'm talking about Jennifer Grey playing Baby Houseman. Like, she was the lead in that movie. Her and like Patrick Swayze were the leads, right? That movie was iconic. Everyone, I think, has seen that movie.
Yeah.
It was, she got like nominated for like a Golden Globe for that. I mean, like, but the only other role I've ever seen her in was that she was Ferris Bueller's sister in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Mm-hmm. And even though she had that role of Jeannie, like, people remember her as Baby. Nobody puts Baby in the corner. Like, it's Dirty Dancing. Like, that's the thing. And I know she's done some other stuff, but when you think of Jennifer Grey, is there anyone else that you think of besides her character from Dirty Dancing?
Well, having never seen Dirty Dancing, I'm not a good person to ask that question to. But, I mean, I know, but nobody puts baby in a corner.
See?
The next one that I have is another TV show actor. I'm going with Josh Radnor, who plays Ted Mosby.
Yes, Ted Evelyn Mosby.
Yes, Ted Evelyn Mosby. From that show, he's the one that you choose. I mean, the show is about him. He is he's lovable. He's fun. He played that character absolutely perfectly, knocked it out of the park, and he's tried to do things since, and they've just tanked. They even cast him in the same roles, basically, and he's still not good at it.
Yeah.
So
I really liked his character.
Yeah.
Ted Mosby. He is like the main guy for that whole show, and that went like 10 seasons,
Yeah.
9 seasons.
Yeah.
9 seasons. And
not many can break free from that. Once you're on a show for 9 and 10 seasons, and
But I mean,
I don't know.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
I would venture to say Josh Radnor was older, and he's not as good of an actor, and he's also not like a really cute girl.
I also yes, he's not a really cute girl. Jennifer Aniston's gorgeous. Jennifer Aniston can really act. The only problem is like her character of like
Rachel Green.
What's her face? Rachel Green. Such like a horrible the character's actually a horrible character. She's a horrible person.
They're all horrible people. It's crazy.
I mean, that's true. But yeah, anyway.
Yes.
She broke free. So
she did.
It is possible.
It's possible. It's hard though.
Someone else I'll bring up that was a massive star on a television show and then broke into movies. It's so sometimes there's that break, right?
Uh-huh.
Michael J. Fox was Alex P. Keaton on Family Ties. It was like one of the biggest shows of the 80s, like the biggest sitcoms. Like it was a ratings juggernaut. And then when Eric Stoltz was, removed, let go, whatever, from Back to the Future, they brought in Michael J. Fox. He became Marty McFly. And then, he stopped doing... he really transitioned from television into movies. I mean, I know he did come back and do Spin City for a couple of years. But, he transitioned from television to movies. So it can happen.
It can.
Not for Josh Radnor, though.
Nope.
Not yet,
No,
at least.
No.
Okay. The next one that I have... And this might be controversial. Because I think... of him as this character and this character only that I remember, even though I've seen other movies that he's been in, this is the movie that defines him. Tobey Maguire
I knew you were gonna
as
say that.
Peter Parker in the original Spider-Man trilogy of movies. He was and is Spider-Man still to this day for so many people. I mean, he helped lead this huge wave of the superhero genre of films.
Right.
He played it so good in those first 2 movies. The third movie's bad. We've talked about it. That's not necessarily on him.
Right.
But those Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, I mean, just that's Tobey Maguire. I mean, he's been in other stuff. Gosh, he's done other things. But is he ever going to be remembered for any... is that... I think that's his big defining role, and I think everything else is people forget he's done anything else.
Yeah, I think most people that's probably true. I think we're always going to find people who are fans of some actor's other movie that they were in. I thought about Tobey Maguire as well when I was doing this, but I like Tobey Maguire in quite a few things he's been in. And there's been so many Spider-Mans that for me, it's if I can walk from Tobey Maguire to Andrew Garfield to Tom Holland, I mean, I don't know.
Tom Holland's the only person I think that's going to give a run to Tobey Maguire, a run for his money that people will then say Tom Holland is the Spider-Man actor.
Right.
And if he does that, then I think there's a chance for Tobey Maguire to do something maybe later on that could define his career.
Sure.
But I mean...
I get it. I get it. I think... I don't know if I necessarily agree with that one, but I definitely get where that one's coming from. That one makes sense to me, and I'm cool. I'm cool with it.
Yep. Okay.
I'm cool with that one. All right. So the next one that I've got, okay, is Alfonso Ribeiro.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it did not for me until I had to look up who played this character, because I was like, oh, this guy's not been in anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's Carlton Banks.
Carlton
Banks.
Yep.
Have you seen him?
Not unusual to be loved by
Nobody
anyone.
has seen Carlton Banks, the actor who played him, in anything. And you know what? That show, here's the problem. When it comes to TV shows, it's like, especially with this particular show being so massive and such a jumping off point for some actors and actresses, and him being kind of a side character to the loud, bouncy, fun Will Smith. I mean, it's his... And when you have a thing like Joey Tribbiani with "How you doing," then you've got Carlton, and his thing is the dance. Like, everybody knows the Carlton. That's a meme. It always will be. Everybody will always know the Carlton, whether you're 10 years old or you're 75. You know what that is, and you know how to do it. And his character, he will always be the same character forever and ever and ever. I've never seen him in anything else. I don't know him from anything else. A big character who just, and a good actor who just, nothing ever worked.
Yep. Gosh, that's a good pick. It's true. Like, even though, like, I know stuff about him, like, I know, he was a dancer in, like, Michael Jackson video, like in the Michael Jackson, I think Pepsi commercial, right? The Michael Jackson got his hair cut on fire. Like I know other stuff, but like, acting wise, Carlton Banks. Yep. Okay, then my next one I've kind of talked about, but Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. I mean, I kind of brought that in, but like, this is where he falls in my list. It's like this. It's kind of like in the middle of my list. Everyone knows him for this. I mean, yes, he had some other roles. He was in My Cousin Vinny, and he was in The Outsiders and whatnot, but he is known as Daniel LaRusso. He's known for the crane kick.
Yes.
Like, him and Mr. Miyagi, like, that's the thing. I mean, he's reprising the same role in a television series. So, I mean, it's kind of like Candace Cameron.
Yeah.
In the same way, like, Candace Cameron is known as DJ Tanner from Full House, and then she's reprising the same role in Fuller House. Has she done other stuff? I think so.
Hallmark movies, tons.
Okay, so
she's like the queen of Christmas is what they call her.
But she's known as
DJ.
Always
Tanner. Will be. Yep. So true.
All right, what do you got?
So true. All right, so the next one I've got... Oh, this one's... There's so many good ones. Okay. So this is funny because this was actually mentioned by one of our super friends today. It is Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Bean. How can somebody like him be anyone or anything else? It can't be done. It's like Pee Wee Herman. You could add him to this as well. Irreplaceable. You can't undo when you become somebody so iconic and so silly and outrageous. It just can't be undone. And Mr. Bean falls into that category beautifully. Nobody could play him as well as he was played. He was born to play that role. He was born to be Mr. Bean. But the problem is sometimes when you're born to play a certain role, you can't play anything else. And you just got to ride that until you die. I mean, unfortunately, just milk it for as much as you can, as long as you can. And that's what he has done.
Yep. I like that, Mr. Bean. Okay, the next one I've got, Zach Galifianakis as Alan Garner from the Hangover movies. I mean, The Hangover was a big, huge success. It had 2 sequels. He reprised his role as Alan in all of those films, where he's this kind of like weird, offbeat character that, like, he's funny, but he's just kind of weird. And that's what makes him funny.
Yeah.
And everyone knows him from that. And everything else he's been in, whether it's TV, whether it's movies, whether it's like his comedy stuff, it's like they keep trying to like find different ways for him to play the same character in those other projects. I mean, he plays this kind of goofy, clumsy oaf type character in everything that he's in. They're literally just trying to like capture that same role over and over and over again, which means that that's really the role he's defined by. Like, I haven't seen him do anything other that doesn't fall into that role basically of Alan from that movie. I don't know that he's got a lot of range, maybe. I know he's a comedian, and he's a really funny comedian, and he writes really well. But like, that's the role people are going to know him as.
Yeah, I can get behind that, I guess. But I don't know. There's a lot here. Zach Galifianakis to me is really, really funny, and he's in a lot of things that I like. And The Hangover does not come to mind. And I have seen The Hangover, and it's, I don't know. I know that was a massive success, and people thought it was like really, really funny. Maybe it's because I saw it edited, but I just didn't think it was that funny.
That's probably why. And I didn't think
it was like, oh my gosh. But I knew Zach Galifianakis from stuff other than that, because I kind of came to the Hangover party late, I guess. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that one's good. I think that one's a little more, for me, a stretch than some of the other ones.
Okay.
Just like for you, Michael J. Fox is a stretch. For me, Michael J. Fox is only Marty McFly because I was born in 1988 and I didn't watch Family Ties.
Right.
And so for me, that is it. I've never seen him in anything else ever. And so I mean, there's just going to be interesting generational differences. So I'm excited to hear what the Super Friends have to say too about this podcast, because there's some interesting ones that we're going to come up on as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So the next one I've got is Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too
Sheldon.
recent, maybe it's not, but I don't think you can break free from being Sheldon. I don't think you can.
What did they do that? Like 10, 11 seasons of that show?
I don't know. 15 is still going. I don't know. We've talked about the Big Bang Theory ad nauseum at certain points on this podcast and our disdain for it towards the middle and the end. But Jim Parsons, born to play this role of Sheldon, does a great job, just perfect casting. I just cannot imagine him playing anyone else ever. I mean, he'll never shake that role. When you're running a show that big, it's just not going to happen.
Yep. All right, my next one. And this is where we start getting...
to the biggies?
To the biggies.
Okay.
Like... I think probably like my guess is you and I are probably going to be hitting like on the top 3, and they're probably all going to be in the same realm.
Yep.
This actor had done other things prior to this role. He was a child actor who had actually had some leads in some films, some very popular films. But after he played this role, no one ever remembers anything else he's done in his career. And that is Elijah Wood as Frodo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Man.
I mean, he is iconic in that role. He was perfectly cast. He fit the way he was, his casting, the way he looks, the way he plays the role fits right along with the book and how that character's written. I mean, he is Frodo.
Yep.
I can read the books now, and I can't not see Elijah Wood. And I read the books for years before these movies ever came out.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's now how I see that, he is the face of Frodo in all pop culture. No one remembers the movie North anymore.
Right.
No one remembers that.
Nope.
He's done other stuff since, but really, Frodo Baggins.
Yep. Always and forever. No matter how much you like the show Wilfred on FX, he's always going to, he's going to be Frodo. That was one of those, we're getting kind of the low-hanging fruit here. Because my next one is, for our podcast, probably the number one, most obvious, iconic, you'll never be known for anything else, and that is Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
Obvious. Yeah, it's obvious.
We don't even have to explain why. I mean, we've talked about this before and alluded to the voice acting. He's done a lot of that, and he's very good at that. And he's done some voice acting for some characters I really like. But give me
Do you know what I remember most after Star Wars? I remember seeing him in a video game for like, it wasn't like Command and Conquer, but it was around that time. It was like some sort of like sci-fi space thing. And like, he was doing some like video capture stuff and like they had video of him and he was talking. I went, this guy is Luke Skywalker in the movies and now he's being an actor in video game. And like, this is not like big video games now where like Norman Reedus, who's like a massive star from The Walking Dead, becomes a massive character on Death Stranding. No. This is like poor Mark Hamill needed some work.
Right.
And this helped pay the bills for a while. Like, good for him. And I'm going to acknowledge he has had an amazing career as a VO actor doing voiceover. He's had an amazing career doing VO. For a lot of people, they didn't know him as Luke Skywalker. They knew him as the Joker.
Right.
But on camera,
it's easy.
You're never going to see him as anyone else.
This is it's stupid to even that we're even still talking about it. It's so obvious. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. I think he's probably the most classic, but I'm going to put one other person in front of him to give him. I'm actually putting Mark Hamill at 2. This is ridiculous to me.
Man.
This one though, Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter.
Okay.
I mean, he started as a kid. He did 8 movies over how many years? We watched him grow up. I know he's tried to go on and do other stuff. Yeah. I know he did some sort of play after the Harry Potters, and I know like he's tried to have other roles. But I think when you play such an iconic character, the lead of an entire movie franchise. Now, we're not just talking about like Sarah Michelle Gellar being the lead of a television show that went 7 seasons. We're talking about the lead of a massive movie franchise based on a massive book franchise that everyone in the world loved. We watched you grow up from the time you were a young kid to a young adult, and he hasn't done anything else. He's forever, I think, going to be he's the newer generation Mark Hamill. I mean, that's really what it is. Mark Hamill's my generation actor that was defined by a big, massive role that they'll never break away for. Daniel Radcliffe is like the new generations, or maybe a generation older, last generation. That's their Mark Hamill, is Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe he's excellent as Harry. I mean, when I read the books, just like you were talking about Frodo, and when you read Lord of the Rings, it's the same thing with Harry Potter. Now, when I go back and I read, I see Daniel Radcliffe. I mean, it's just it's not a knock on any of these actors, right? I mean, they were just born to play certain roles, and this kid was 10, 11, and he started acting as Harry Potter, and you never recover. He's done great work, in my opinion. He did a great job in Woman in Black, and he did a really good job in Swiss Army Man, which is fantastic, really fun movie. But that doesn't matter. You're still Harry, and you always will be Harry, and that's cool.
Yeah. We're listening to the audiobook of Harry Potter and I was going to say the Philosopher's Stone, the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
And my kids are listening to this, and I'm listening to the audiobook narrated by Jim Dale.
Yeah.
Not even Daniel Radcliffe's voice, and I still see Daniel Radcliffe in my head.
Yep. It's true. So, some from that movie have gone on. It's interesting, though, because you could do a whole nother podcast and say people that shouldn't have been able to move on. The Jennifer Anistons, and in my opinion, the Emma Watsons, where she has really made a name for herself outside of Harry Potter. A central character. So it's just interesting to see some people can break and they can do other things. And some people, it's like, nope, you're getting sucked back down, man, because everyone loved you too much.
I mean, it's like Harrison Ford, right? I mean, he was one of the big kind of 3 from Star Wars, and then he got Indiana Jones. And like, I'd say that role is more iconic than Han. I mean, even though I'm a massive Star Wars fan, Indiana Jones, because he was the lead and carried an entire franchise by himself, I think that was like a bigger role for him.
Oh, yeah. He's done amazing stuff. He's iconic. Yep. He's so iconic. He has multiple ways that he's iconic. That's
he's done lots. He's done lots of stuff.
That's like god tier acting, though. Yeah. Anyway, that was fun,
but you're not.
That was hard.
You're not going to see Rupert Grint doing that, though. Mr. Ron Weasley.
No. Oh, poor Ron.
So, Super Friends, I thought this was a lot of fun because, there's so many actors and actresses that do things that, like, we know them for. And maybe, like, these are the actors and actresses, like, you go to Comic-Cons to go and see because they're your favorite whatever. But I'm curious to hear from you if there's actors, actresses that were defined by one role that you think we missed that maybe are low-hanging fruit, or maybe just ones that you really identify with, or or that just make sense to you. Like, what are the actors or actresses that are defined by a single role that maybe we missed, or maybe you just want to elaborate on some of the ones we hit on because we didn't have time to talk about it for long. Let us know at all the normal places, and we'll read your answers and talk about those next week. Matt, we're still rolling forward towards episode 200.
Yeah.
We've got some surprises. We've got some things going on. I want to let the Super Friends know a little surprise right now. Just a little surprise.
Teasy.
Because I've kind of leaked this out a little bit on Twitch this week. We are bringing back the Fortress of Nerditude Discord. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, I'd started a Discord for the podcast, but I really didn't do a lot with it, and I kind of didn't try to get that going all that well. But now with my streaming that's going on, and with that being consistent, I thought it'd be a good time to bring the Discord back. We're rolling up to episode 200. It's going to be a place where we can continue to have conversations about the podcast, about the streaming, about movies and television, and we can use that for a lot of fun stuff. And I think it'd be a fun way to keep all of us as super friends in touch with one another. So I will be putting out the link this week to the Discord. I hope you join it. I hope you get in there and start mixing it up, and we can start having conversations. And that's just a little tease of something we got coming up.
Nice.
But I wanna kind of get this going a little beforehand, so maybe by episode 200, maybe we do something with Discord. So anyway, that's that. We're rolling towards 200. Matt, once again, I am always happy to be here. I came in and I said this at the beginning of the podcast. I was still a little worked up about the chair situation.
Uh-huh.
I've pretty much forgotten about this. I feel so good. I feel like a weight has been lifted. Thank you for the free therapy once again.
Yes. Same here. It was just a day. Today was just a freaking day. But I feel much better. I'll sleep well tonight.
I needed this. Yeah, me too. All right, super friends. Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude, to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.